So you probably haven't done this before, but the magic mic test. Yeah, if
Your daughter is telling me.
She was? Yeah, that's awesome. She knows her stuff. That's right.
Yeah.
Taught my 6-year-old well. I told you why I was starting this, but I wanted to kind of tell you again for people who are watching. But my mom died. My mom died. Jeez.
Yes.
That's
Your grandmother.
Freudian slip.
Yes.
My grandma died on my birthday last week, and I was like, I had one conversation with her when she was on our honeymoon, on me and Carla's honeymoon in 2015, so 8 years ago. And I asked a lot of questions. I asked questions about her dad, her grandfather, where her, they were up from northern France, and I got some sense of who she was, but like one, I didn't record it, so I can't go back and listen back and refresh my memory as to everything because there was so much information and my memory is shit. And
join the club.
Yeah, seriously. And two, I want to be able to like chronicle these. So I was like, I want to be able to chronicle these things with friends, family, get an understanding, like how often do you have again, deeper conversations with people? It's like you don't have, you can only have so much of a conversation when you come over to like watch the kids, or like when you come over and we hang out and eat and there's a bunch of people, you know what I mean? It's not like the right setting to have these types of conversations,
Right.
And I don't think it's like yesterday we were talking about, last year with Kathy and, the fire and everything. And I was like, I had a lot of questions about that. And I was like, yeah, so not just with you, but with family and friends or people that I find interesting. The whole point of this thing, as Luke calls it, for real life. That's what he calls it. Which actually, because I thought that was like a unique saying when he was for real life. But that's an Australian saying. And I had no idea. And Naomi, even though I lived there, my sister Naomi, I texted Naomi, my sister, the idea that I had for the name for real life. I'm like, Luke, my 3-year-old son, he's like, Luke likes to say for real life instead of for real. And he's like, for real life, mommy? For real life? I was like, ooh, that's a good idea. I'm going to take that. And then she's like, oh, like the Australian saying. I'm like, what? And then the kids were watching Bluey the other day, which is a show from like Australia or New Zealand, one of the two. I'm not sure which one. But sure enough, one of the Bluey's like, for real life? It's like, dang. So there you go. That's what this is called, for real life. Anyways, what was I going to say? I guess what I want to talk about and get an understanding with you is all this stuff, the big things that I know about you. So the big things that I know about you are, and then there's probably a lot more, but the big things I know is, 1, you were in the military, right? You were in the Navy. 2, and I barely know anything about any of your involvement, right? So I want to get to know about that. And 2, you, you've been doing dog and animal rescue for like, I don't know what.
Since 1999.
So 23, 24 years.
Yeah.
Coming up on 25 eventually. That's,
yeah.
And I know a little bit about what you do with that, but I want to get into depth with that. So I guess first I want to know is, why did you join the Navy?
I know in 4th grade we had the military at our school doing a presentation. And then I remember my dad took me to a concert, and it was the Navy band, and it was also the singers. Mm-hmm. I remember that. And that was all during elementary school. So that always just had a big part of the back of my head. So I always wanted, but I thought Air Force, because that seemed cool, because I loved airplanes. But I graduated from high school, went to college, stretched out those 4 years to 6 years, of course. And then when I graduated, I went into the service because I didn't want to stay in Beaumont. And I always said I wanted to go in the service. Well,
what'd you major in college, by the way?
Health education.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that. And since I had a new stepdad and he had retired Navy, I thought, well, this is cool because if I go Navy, I'm always going to be guaranteed a spot, really, on a beach or on the water, on a beach thing, because we had a beach house and we were there every weekend. So the beach was my friend.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So I said beach.
Is that normal? Like mostly people who are in the Navy. I mean, obviously you have to be near water, but I'm sure there might be some branches or people who are like in remote areas, not even near the water. Or is that not the case?
I can't really think of anywhere where you're not water based,
which makes sense
for the Navy.
That's awesome.
But then again, we were talking to somebody that was in the Coast Guard. Well, no, they are on the water, but they're on the lakes, the big lakes up there.
Right.
The HOME lakes. But yeah, I think 99% of the time you're going to be somewhere where there's water.
Right.
Unless it's one of those special assignments somewhere.
Right.
And then again, I got deployed over to the desert. There was no water there.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Where? Which desert? Where? Was it in the States or?
No,
okay.
No.
The Sahara?
One of those over there, we were taking people back and forth into Afghanistan.
So was it like the 90s?
No, that was probably 2004, 2005.
Oh, wow. Okay, so when did you join?
I joined in 91.
91.
Yes.
So that was right after the Gulf War, right?
The Gulf War was still actually happening when I went in.
Okay.
Or when I enlisted. And then by the time I finished my last 2 semesters of college, then I went in. We were just, I guess, finishing it up or something like that. And so, yeah, that was October. I went in on my mother and dad's anniversary. Of course, they're divorced at that point, so that was October 6th of 91. And then I graduated boot camp on the 50th anniversary of World War II.
Oh, that's cool.
December 7th, 1991. So it was 50 years. So I thought boot camp was a blast.
Oh, really?
I think everybody is afraid at first because you kind of hear horror stories and things like that.
Right.
But no, it was just a well-structured event.
Do you think that it's funny because I'll have James, my brother-in-law, who is Marine Recon, and get an idea of what it was with him, what his experience was, but the experience of like boot camp and stuff like that.
That's a totally different world.
Probably is, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You have to respect a Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So what made you want to, so you were around it, like, the idea of military, was it your Joe, your stepfather that gave you the idea of like, okay, he's military, and is that kind of what gave you the idea to enlist, or did you enlist, or did you go in as an officer? By the way,
I enlisted.
You enlisted. So what gave you that like?
Because I wanted to get in, and
is it because you were in Beaumont and you're like?
Yeah, Beaumont had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
God. I don't remember the whole gist of it. I do know, like I said, I always thought military. I wanted to serve. And let me tell you, it was a big family. It did not disappoint.
Yeah.
I loved my 2 years in San Diego. I loved my A school. Because in A school, I was also part of this Cracker Jack thing. It was called the Cracker Jacks. Mm-hmm. And we were just an elite little group. And we did marches. We marched in parades. Mm-hmm. I would do honor guards. I would go and walk. We would get in line. There were about 4 of us, I guess, and we would march the whole base to the front gate, which is where the colors. So we would do it, get there, and wait for it was time for colors to come down. We'd bring them down in ceremony.
And
if that doesn't make
the
you...
U.S. flag? Just all, okay.
Yeah. And if that doesn't make you feel like you're part of this country, I don't know what else would. When you're up there and you're saluting and you have an entire base and even people out on the road stopping.
That's crazy.
And if you're in uniform, of course, you're saluting and you have to stop your cars. But even the civilians that were outside would recognize the fact that that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
And they would stop their cars.
That's crazy. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah.
So.
You mentioned earlier that you had the long college route.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, I think the idea of military had never crossed my mind. And I think probably because I had three older sisters. I was a selfish kid for sure. And I didn't have my stuff together at all. And so it probably would have done me really good. It did my cousin really well, who's in the Army now, Green Beret. But I mean, I messed around my freshman year. Luckily at SMU, they had this freshman forgiveness, which is basically like if you mess up your first semester, you get to retake the courses that you choose to up to a certain number of credits, and it completely replaces your GPA. And that saved my ass because it goes to show you, like, I was not in it. I did it because I didn't know what else to do. I was like, I had music. I was like, can I make a living in music, or do I just need to go down the same career path? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I ended up majoring in geology because that's what my dad did. And so I was like, I didn't really know what to do. But I think going in the military or of some sort would probably have saved me, my parents, a lot of money, and it would probably save me a lot of time figuring out what the hell I wanted to do with myself. But I mean, I'm not regretting it, but I think it's a great path for a lot of people too who don't know what they want to do. It's like,
I think all colleges should do that because I just flunked out my first semester.
Oh, you did?
Oh, it was horrible.
Where'd you go to college?
Lamar, down in Beaumont.
Lamar, okay.
Yes. We were not told in high school that there are all these other colleges, or they did not push that you need to build a new life around, and it's hard to explain.
It's more like stay here.
Yeah.
Right? Stay a small town, so you finish here, stay here, don't go out.
Nobody said, "Hey, let's talk to you about career choices out there."
Yeah.
Nobody ever talked to us about those things. Or I certainly don't remember it. No, they didn't. Yeah. Everybody just naturally assumed Lamar University since it was right there. Mom worked there. I was working after school there. So I did that. I think I was going to go off to school if I could have. Because I remember my boss at Lamar saying, go to UT, go to UT. And then that just fizzled out because I don't think I was ready to go. Move out, things like that.
Right.
And I'm glad I didn't because that gave me some good years with my dad.
Yeah.
Because I moved in with my dad.
Oh, you did? Uh-huh. So you were until you went off to to the Navy. Yeah. And so when you were in the Navy, enlisted, why did you need to enlist? Could you have gone in as an officer since did you have your college degree, or can you use that degree?
I could have. But I didn't have one in the right area. In
the right field, right.
Yeah. So whenever I got out 3 years later, I got out early because our squadron decommissioned. And I could have gotten out, or I could have gotten another assignment. And
that means, decommission means like you finished whatever missions or whatever.
That squadron that I was in, it was a search and rescue squadron. And it was called HC1 there on Coronado. Beautiful place to get stationed. Just fabulous. We even had our own beach. We had everything. Just a great little island.
And what's a squadron?
HC1.
What is a squadron? Yeah. I mean, it's a group of soldiers, but
it's just a unit. It's like a job. So that would have been like Nortel.
Okay.
And then the next squadron would have been like EDS or HP or something like that. So every squadron was a little company that we all just merged together. So we were helicopters. The next one was maybe fighter planes. And then the other squadron would have been the seventh. Well, at that point it would have been C9s and then eventually 737s.
And how many are there usually in a squadron? Do you know? How many people?
Oh, no. Gosh.
Because I know it's like you've got,
like
300.
300.
Okay. Because it like there's different hierarchies of names, and I'm like not familiar with any of those. It's like, squadron and then like platoon, and that's probably military, right? But or army, sorry.
Army.
But it's like, and then after that you have like, a large. So your squadron got decommissioned. So all 300 people like were done.
Yeah, you either went to another
squadron
or could have gone, squadron or to a school or wherever they needed to send you at that point. And I had gotten an assignment to move to Hawaii, and I had come home, and for some reason, I chose to go ahead and get out. I don't know why. That wasn't a smart move.
Hawaii might have been nice.
But I did it thinking I'm going to go back to school and go to grad school. So I came back to Dallas. I helped take care of someone's mother while she was dying. And then I went over to the community college and got a minor in accounting. And I got a minor in accounting. And then I was able to go to grad school down at Southwest Texas, which is now Texas State University. So I went down there and got a master's in healthcare administration.
No, I did not know that.
3 years of... and it was there that I learned I'm basically dyslexic.
Really?
So in regular college, now let's go back to high school. I'm a straight A student in high school. That's just because I could sit there and memorize and all that good stuff, and then have fun in between. College, too big of classes, 250 people in one class.
Seriously, those first year classes?
Yes. No. Yeah. I couldn't grasp it. So I really had a hard time. And I couldn't read a book and comprehend what I was reading.
I swear, I don't use that. It's the same way. Was it for you? It's legit dyslexia, or is it like some sort?
I don't know, but I know when I got into grad school, and we did more of, like when I took my test, a lot of them were oral. It would ask me questions, and you would do that. I did better that way.
Yeah.
So much better, because I could say, oh, I remember this. I know that. And this is what I know and how I would apply it. And so I was an A with a few B's in grad school. So I don't say that I would read things backwards but I could read a word and it would be this way. And then I couldn't understand the sentence I just read.
But I think, because I can relate to that. I think when you think about, you had your high school awesome grades, and then college, and then but then after that grad school. I think too, the style of learning is one thing for sure, and I agree with you. Like I'm a visual learner, so I think like if I need to see something, I learn by seeing things. But like when I was especially in high school for me, or college, it was the same thing. I would have a hard time retaining information that I was reading for some reason off of. I would read it. I'd read a paragraph and be like, "What the hell did I just read?" But I also think that when you have a purpose or a goal, an idea in mind, because you went back on your own and be like, I want to go back to get my graduate. You had more control and idea of what you wanted to do. And I think when you have that direction, maybe it provides more drive and interest in like pursuing it and like working harder towards it. Yeah. Whereas because like when I was in college again, I was like floating. I was like, I don't know what I want to do, And so I think when you're like floating like that, you also have this lack of focus. You're like disinterested because you're like, you try this, you try that, and you have like this, choice overload. You have a million things you could do, and that idea of what you could do is almost like overwhelming, And then when you narrow it down, it helps a lot. So you were in the military for how long? Between when you enlisted?
So 3 years for active, and I was home. when I say home, I moved, when I came back, I came to Dallas. So I was back up here in Dallas maybe 3 months and said, I'm going back into the reserves. I even thought about going back active and said, no, my goal is to get to grad school. So I started back at the junior college for the accounting. I started doing the reserves, just 1 weekend a month. And I got a full-time job, and then I started teaching aerobics. Gosh, I taught maybe 4 or 5 days a week. And then I had a part-time job. So basically I had 4 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, just to get going and to stay busy and to study and all that good stuff. And so I did all of that. And finally I got into grad school 2 years later. And like I said, that took me 3 years. I loved it down there, San Marcos. Back then it was...
Yeah, San Marcos is awesome.
Small.
Yeah.
You should imagine it back in 96 to 99.
Right.
It was just a small town. They would not let the people build apartments because they wanted the students in the dorms.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I guess maybe a few years later they started building apartments. They lifted that ban, and now it's nothing but apartments and 100,000 more people, and it's crazy.
Yeah, we played when I was with the band Big Red Rooster. We were playing a bunch of shows in San Marcos, college town. A lot of parties there.
Oh yeah,
a lot of good shows we played there. It was fun. It was really good. I'm trying to remember some of the bars, but I can't remember any of the bars that
the Parrot.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
That's the big bar that was down on the square.
Oh yeah.
I never went. So I never went to a football game or a baseball game.
I guess it's different in grad school though, right? Yeah, it's not like the same thing as in college because it's like you've got 4 jobs, you got 4 things going on. You're super busy. You're so like trying to fit all that social stuff in. It's like,
but when I was in grad school, I had a morning job, and then I went and studied for a few hours because my classes were from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night.
Okay. 3
or 4 days a week. So depending on how many classes I was taking.
And then what were you when you were? What was your rank when you left military? And I guess that's still your rank, right? Technically.
I was a structural mechanic.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes. So.
You're making sure buildings didn't fall on people, basically?
No, aircraft.
Oh, aircraft. Okay, cool.
So.
And you said you were with helicopters? Is that?
I was with helicopters there.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't do much there. I became the office manager, basically, the safety specialist. I made sure all the paperwork was done and just kept track of everything.
Right.
So I did that.
So it didn't get too technical on the helicopter side of things as far as like learning models or?
No, we only had 2 models. No, we only had 1 model there. They had 2 models when I first went in. The big ones with the double.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but as soon as I got there, they were shipping them out of the squadron. So then we just had the Swarovskis, and that's the ones for search and rescue. If you remember, I know you don't remember, but if you've ever seen photos of when the helicopter, when they came back from the moon and it landed out in the ocean.
Yeah, they have to go get them.
Yes,
yeah.
And so that helicopter the people would jump out of that, grab them, put them in a basket, and holster them up.
Yeah, I know. I got a visual of those. They're like the longer helicopters. They have 2 props as well on the sides, or not? Is it a single prop copter?
It has one up on the top and one in the back going this way.
Okay.
It has 2 sponsons on the side, so if you land in water or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can't get out of the water, but you have to land.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you watch, what's that movie? Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm.
That's what picks them up.
Man, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, that was a good movie. That's
definitely.
Been a long time. So what got you to your next chapter in your life, which was animal rescue, basically.
Yeah.
So what took you from grad school and your degree to that? Like, what was the process?
I have always loved dogs, always. And while I was in grad school, I got blessed to have this little bitty puppy. It was probably 5 weeks old when I got it.
Yeah.
Because the mom had died from parvo.
Parvo?
Parvo
Oh.
is a puppy disease.
Mm.
So I had just started my second semester, and I got that little puppy, and I brought it home with me to my town. What was my duplex? I had a duplex there in San Marcos.
Okay.
And it was just a little bitty old fart, little diamond. Had a diamond on its chest. It was white with brown little spots, but then it had a brown diamond on the chest. So we named her Diamond Marie Francis.
Nice.
And she would go to classes with me. I would just stick her in my pocket and take her with me to my classes. Nobody ever said anything. And she would go to the library with me. I remember her peeing on the floor there one day. And we just kind of cleaned it up. And I would have had her on my back walking that stage. My dad had said, no, she's staying at home. But I'm like, well, she went to class. She graduates too.
Yeah.
But she was the love of my life. And so while we were there, my neighbor wanted to go to the shelter there to see about getting her a dog. So I went with her. And I remember walking into that shelter, and there was this about 5 or 6 big cages on this side. Small dogs were over there. But there was this big cage with this Rottweiler, and then there was a big shepherd, and then there was nothing, and then there was this other big dog. And I went back to that nothing, and I looked in there, and there was this little Chihuahua. She was probably 3 or 4 pounds. And I said something, and she come running to that door. So I just walked myself back in there, and I asked that guy, I said, what's up with that little dog in between all the big dogs? He goes, a homeless guy just brought her in last night and asked us to euthanize her. Mm. He goes, we thought we'd give her a chance. I said, yeah, you're going to give her a chance. You're going to give her to me. And that was my first rescue. And I thought my Aunt Patsy would benefit from that dog.
Oh, you gave it to Aunt Patsy?
Well, no.
She's like, don't give me this dog.
No, because hers had just died.
Oh.
But no, I got attached. And she was like 10 years old at the time, I guess. But she was, and my little Diamond Marie, they bonded. Diamond was only a couple of years old at that point, and she was about 10. So I had Diamond and Little Bit, and my life was complete.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My first rescue and foster failure. So then when I came up to Dallas after graduation, I joined the Chihuahua Rescue Group here.
So that's what. So rescuing that one dog
started the whole
thing, and that's especially why the connection with the Chihuahuas.
Yeah,
because I know
I've always had Chihuahuas.
Right, that's been your thing. Not necessarily going out looking for them because you've rescued all types, and that kind of. And then when you joined that group, you were like.
I grew big time. I started learning this, and this, and went out on my own. And then Kathy and I started Texas Little Cutie. Texas Little Cutie Rescue. We sat there for hours coming up with a name. She would come up with.
I didn't realize that Kathy started that with you. I thought, okay. And what year was that started? That you actually started doing this? Okay, after learning and doing that on your own.
Maybe 07.
07.
Yeah, or 06. 06.
And you graduated, you finished grad school, what
99.
year? 99.
Yeah. So Kathy and I were working together at Nortel.
That's a communications company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She moved in with me in 02. Mm-hmm. And she lived with me till 06, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then her husband he came back in the States. He had gotten hurt or something. He actually got hurt in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. He was a Marine.
Yeah, that's right.
And he crashed his helicopter twice.
Twice?
Yeah. So he had bad back, and he of course had Agent Orange stuff.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So
See, I haven't heard much about the Agent Orange stuff,
Yeah,
but it's
bad
like you hear
stuff.
stories about that and like the fact that the government was doing that. to
doing
some
that,
people.
and then not taking care of our guys.
Yeah, and not telling anybody.
Yeah.
It was used as chemical warfare,
Mm-hmm.
and just so I understand, like inadvertently, because of the wind and everything, it came back
Yes.
to the soldiers that were doing it.
Yes.
And that causing all kinds of mental and physical, right?
Right, physical.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big cause of Parkinson's in most of these guys. So, and I say guys, but I know there were a few gals over there too.
Yeah.
That probably got exposed, but it was mainly the guys that were out there in the field. Back then, women weren't out in the field. They were China Beach and stuff like that.
Right. And was it just like Agent Orange? I don't know much about it. I've always heard that term.
Uh-huh.
It was used against. It was
Yeah.
was it like I guess a gas for them, for a neurological gas, or I don't know. I guess
Ooh.
yeah. I don't know what it's.
Kind of like go back and watch Apocalypse
Now, yeah.
Love
Hey.
the smell of napalm in the morning.
My brother-in-law Bill would like get down my throat right now because I still to this day still haven't seen that movie. And I told him years ago that I hadn't seen that movie, and he got so pissed, like, you have to watch that movie. And I've never seen that movie.
You know what it's kind of based on? What is the book? Oh, Conrad's book. You know, the guy that did I may be totally wrong here, but the guy that did Lord of the Flies. Is that what it's kind of? Heart of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness. That's what it's
inspired by?
Yeah. So they have this movie, they make this movie about what happens there, but then you take Heart of Darkness, the book,
Yeah.
and then you intertwine them.
I see.
Yes.
I haven't even heard of that book before, so
Oh.
I need to brush up on the reading that I don't do. I barely.
Well, see, that's what
I need to do audiobooks.
everybody says. Oh, I read this book. I read this
Yeah.
book. I read this book. I said, well, those days for me are over.
I think audiobooks, right? It's like,
Yes.
or maybe
Get in the car and
Yeah.
drive and listen to a book.
exactly. I think that we're going on a road trip soon, so I might do that.
Yeah.
Every time I try to read at night, I just fall asleep 5 minutes later. It's
Fall
great.
asleep or still can't read it right.
There's like a few books in like, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, obviously, because like you're supposed to read, what is it, 50 books a year or something? I don't know to be successful in life, read these books, Atomic Habits, and all this.
Oh God, no! That's a book a week.
Yeah,
no.
I know, yeah. But my closest thing to Apocalypse Now was Martin Sheen's son, Charlie Sheen, in Platoon.
Platoon.
That was a classic.
Yes.
So many quotes and so many stars in that movie. It's crazy. Like Johnny Depp when he was a kid, Matt Dillon, just a bunch.
That is an all-star cast.
What's his name? Forrest Whitaker. Willem Dafoe. Like all these great actors, and you wouldn't. It's just an all-star cast. It's got that kind of vibe of. I don't know if you ever saw Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
But they were same in that movie. There's like all these actors in that movie. One of my favorite military movies for sure. That like they were just up and coming, and they just started casting them. It's funny how sometimes you run across those movies that have like that cast, and just like I know that guy, I know that guy, I know that guy.
Yeah. That's it.
So
Big time meaning. That's when you go back and watch some of the movies from the 50s. I mean, of course, you wouldn't recognize. I mean, you would know some of them.
Yeah.
But it shows you who. They were all World War II movies.
Yeah.
But John Wayne led most of them.
Yeah.
And if you go back and see some with. Come on, Leslie. You know it is Audie Murphy. He was the most decorated soldier or guy in the war.
Yeah.
And he also was an actor. He's from here.
Dallas, Texas.
Yep, he is it Saxe? Or, oh, now I can't think. Farmersville. He's from Farmersville.
That's cool. That's crazy.
Yes.
Hold on, I'm going to check. I just want to make sure everything's still recording.
Okay.
This is my first episode, making sure all's good in the hood.
Has it still got battery?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, you think about like...
So you got to go back and watch those so that you're seeing all these things from these wars, the wars here recently, but you always have to remember what happened in World War II, what really made this nation what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, World War II reset everything. Women finally got out there and were working, and they proved themselves, but of course people pushed them back down. But this nation came together.
Yeah. Well, you got to think what other war, honestly, besides World War II, has there really needed to have been that wasn't driven by something, right? That like, I don't know. I'm not a politician. I would say I don't like most politicians, and I know that going out and fighting for something that's just and good, like World War II, and it brought the whole world together in a sense. But I don't know if there's anything like that that's happened since, as far as that goes. Every now it's like going out to start wars to make money.
Exactly. Well, and that's what you go back and see. What is his name? Okay, he was a president, Lyndon B. Johnson. That war, the Vietnam War, started because money. You can't tell me, you read all these things and nobody comes out and says, oh, we really needed to be over there because we were trying to help them.
Yeah.
But there was another underlying thing there, because Kennedy definitely did not want to go into this war, and he was bopped. Boop, boop.
Yeah, and
as soon as he's gone, LBJ is sitting in there making a fortune.
Yeah,
and that's just my personal opinion from reading what I read.
Yeah, no, totally. But it's true. It's like the war. It's funny how you had a lot of people in opposition to that war, right? In America, young kids, liberals, a lot of people were against it, and openly so. And it's funny is. Not to say people like the war going on right now in Ukraine, people are more for it than they are against it. And I'm not saying that they don't want people there and they don't want the war to end, but it's almost like, like if anything, I just want war to stop, right? Do anything we can to stop the war. So, with that, I have no idea.
That is just crazy. Just attacking people, killing all these people, just bang.
No.
Kids.
Yeah.
People, and then just constant going after them like that.
But going back to the movies you were talking about, I was just thinking this earlier, when you're talking about movies from like the 50s and stuff like that, and then naming actors like John Wayne and stuff, and at some point, like you go back far enough, say maybe my mom and dad's favorite actors, or maybe my grandparents' favorite actors. I could name them. I could probably name my parents, like my dad was a big Clint Eastwood fan and stuff like that. And but when you go back enough, you're like, who's that actor you're talking about? Who's that famous person? You're like, you don't know that famous person? And now that I'm 40, it's like, it's going to start happening with us. Like, Brad Pitt, Brad Pitt, that guy, Fight Club? And you're like, no, what are you talking about? That old guy who happens to still be somehow that good looking? You know what I mean? And I'm like, or Keanu Reeves, although he's still in it with the whole John Wick thing, but all, like these actors of mine that I just that I grew up watching that I love, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who for some, and I don't know how he's maintained his popularity, but like I have piano students who know who he is.
He's got a whole new series out now.
Huh?
He's got a whole new series.
But like, so there's certain like those actors that like no matter how like he's I think he's in 70s or 80s. I don't know how old he is, but he's getting up there, and but yet all these kids that I taught, and then my nephews, they know him. They've seen Predator, so those iconic roles I don't think are ever gonna die. Movies like from like Casablanca. you know, nobody's ever not going to know Casablanca because it's such a famous movie, right? No matter how old it gets. And there's a few movies like that.
I think they're going to forget.
Yeah.
There's people that don't know who, well, people always know who Marilyn is. And
Marilyn Monroe, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be like.
Clark Gable.
Yeah, I know the name. I couldn't put a face to the name, though.
Oh.
So.
He was one of the first good-looking men actors, you know.
Yeah.
So, and he actually maintained his good looks all the way. He died at about age 60, I guess.
Yeah.
Or he died in 60. He died in 60.
Okay.
Had a heart attack, but he was too young to die. But he still looked just as adorable as he was in Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind. He was Rhett Butler.
Oh, frankly, my dear.
I don't give a damn.
Yeah. I was like, that's with the little mustache. Yeah.
Yeah, that's who.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we were talking about this yesterday. About aging is William Shatner, right?
Oh yes.
Like, I mean,
in his 90s.
He's like he looks like he's the one actor. Like, okay, there's a few actors out there. You're like, you know, you look good for your age. You know, like it was. Who can I remember? Like Brad Pitt, John Stamos was one of them too, and then actresses like Charlize Theron, who's, you know, I don't know how old she is now, but there's a few or Sandra Bullock, who's aged really, really well.
They're not that old.
But they're not that old, right.
What, 50,
or like
53?
What is it? Frank and Gracie's it.
Oh my God!
What's your name?
Both of them, Jane Fonda. And yeah, so I watched that 80 for Brady the other day.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and the oldest one is Rita Moreno. And 42nd Street, is that what that one was called? That musical? 42nd Street? Or
it sounds like a musical.
The Jets and it was the iconic thing of the 50s, that movie.
Not West Side Story. That was
West Side Story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And she was in that. But she is 92 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My God, she doesn't look any older than 70.
Yeah, well,
and she was still running around the thing and dancing. And
it's like
amazing.
William Shatner looks like he's 60.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other actor that he looks. Okay, if you look at him at a picture, like just Google William Shatner 2023, and you look at him, he's like, you know, he's a little puffy, but most 90-year-olds are gaunt. He's like 92 or 93, something like that. So he looks literally 30 years younger. Like that's crazy. Like when I think of a 90-year-old, I can go back to my grandmother who just died at 100, almost at 101. I was looking at pictures of her 90th birthday, and then, like, you know, tack on a couple of years, I had a few pictures of her right around that time. She looks like a 90-year-old woman, a woman in her 90s.
Yeah.
You look at William Shatner, he does not look like that. It's like a little bit like well, he also looks old, but Dick Van Dyke aged really, really well, or
now he's looking old.
Looking old, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, what? Or like
because he just got married.
Oh my God!
A few years ago.
There you go, man.
Yeah, I think she's in her 30s. Maybe she's in her 40s.
Attaboy. I don't know, man. That's how he's gonna go down. He's gonna go down in bed with her, have a heart attack. Hey, that's the way to go if that's gonna happen to him.
And thankfully, she's not a young beauty kind of person. She's just a down to earth kind of looking woman.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect anything from him other than that, if he was going to marry young. But because he's always been a down to earth guy.
Yeah.
Every show he's done, it's been a family oriented kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff.
But then you look at Betty White. She didn't look 100.
It's true. She was 100.
She was 90. She died just a few days before.
That's right. That's right. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost about a year ago, give or take. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I still can't get over the William Shatner thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like I've never seen anything that crazy. It's like, anyways.
And then he got to go up in that space that they took him up there. That was just phenomenal. When he went up in the that shuttle thing that went up in the air and then it came back down. Was it Elon Musk?
It was SpaceX's the plane
SpaceX.
That it went out to the stratosphere or somewhere up there. Yeah, and came back down. Oh, I didn't know he was in that.
Yeah, he went. Cool. As a matter of fact, one of the other guys got killed in a car wreck when they got back down. One of the millionaires. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think people need to go back and watch all those shows from the 50s about World War II so that you know, although there weren't that many that showed the Holocaust part of it.
Yeah.
I think that's where Band of Brothers comes in.
Band of Brothers was great. Oh my God.
Oh, every Sunday night I was waiting for that next episode.
That's JB, my brother-in-law's. I know that's probably his favorite show.
When that
he
came out,
turned me onto that show.
I think it was on HBO at the time.
Yeah, came on HBO. Yeah.
Every Sunday I was sitting there waiting for it.
Yeah. For me, I'd say aside from Black Hawk Down, for World War II stuff, it'd be Saving Private Ryan. That first scene in Normandy, like that, the beginning of that video, just like, jeez. And I can only, because I saw it on TV, I never saw it in the movie theater, but I can only imagine seeing that in the movie theater when it came out, like watching that on a big screen, how intense that'd be for some vets who actually lived that. Like, that's crazy. And then, Holocaust, Schindler's List, that was like...
Do you know I haven't watched that?
You haven't?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's just...
So it's so I went to Jewish school when I was living in Australia, and I was bar mitzvahed and everything like that. And I went to a private school, a Jewish school in Australia. Funny enough, when I lived in France before that, I went to a private Catholic school. So, but my family's Jewish. I'm Jewish, and although I don't practice too much, we do Shabbat on the Sabbath on Friday and light the candles and stuff with the kids. But part of that was watching Schindler's List, and every year watching it once a year. It's kind of like kids. They did the similar thing with kids with the Passion of the Christ. Like kids that probably shouldn't be watching that movie, were too young to watch that movie from like the guidance of rated R. We're watching it through their churches or through which it didn't scar me or anything like that because I already knew about it. But like trying to wrap your head around the fact that people did that to other people. And I think, going to the museums, which I haven't been to in decades. In fact, when the kids get older, that'd be something for them to be interested in learning. But just like, if you want to get some perspective, you go to those museums to get an idea of the Holocaust or Schindler's List. That movie was unbelievable. It was just
I'll
really
have
good.
to put it on my list to do
Liam
that.
Neeson was great in that movie. He was awesome. And the bad guy, played by, he's like the quintessential bad guy, Ralph Fiennes.
Oh yeah,
Ralph Fiennes, Voldemort, basically, as I know him. But yeah, he's like plays such a good bad guy in that movie. He's
such a lovable guy.
Right? Yeah, I know. What was it?
How did he do that?
He's such a good actor. He's just.
Yeah.
Did you see The Menu, or have you seen or have you heard of the movie The Menu? Oh, you should check it out. It came out like last year or something, and it's one of those movies. It's a polarizing movie. From what I've read on the IMDb reviews, people either hate it or they love it, and I'm one that loves it because you gotta understand it for what it is. If you go in there thinking that you're going to watch like a realistic movie, but there's nothing, once you start watching that movie, there's nothing that's like realistic about it. So you have to throw that out the window. And if you can throw that out there and you watch it, it is awesome. And like without him, like he makes the movie, but I don't want to ruin it for you. Right. It's just essentially it's a bunch of food critics and foodies, wealthy people and critics, go to this island to get served a menu of stuff that's catered or hosted by Ralph Fiennes, who's the head chef. That's all I'm gonna say. It gets wonky, it gets crazy. Okay. It's not what you think. It's something, but it is crazy, and it's awesome and it's hilarious. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so watch it. But he's awesome. He makes that movie.
And that's something you got to remember too, is when you go to a movie.
Yeah.
If it's supposed to be fact, you got to stay with it.
Yeah.
If it's something that's entertainment, like The Menu, I'm assuming, yes. People are like, this would never happen. That's why you shouldn't go see this movie because it's stupid, or it would never happen. No.
Yeah.
Movies are made to entertain us.
Yeah.
There's just nothing.
Some people, just don't get past that. My brother-in-law.
Get past that, yeah.
My brother-in-law calls it He calls it the suspension of disbelief. You just have to be like, okay, I'm just not gonna unless it's like a plot hole. right? A plot hole that's so blaringly obvious, you know, like that's just so bad that makes the movie. But like suspending your disbelief in some things that are more like if I'm watching Fast and the Furious, all right, and I'm watching a tank fly because like somehow they've propelled it and it's defying the laws of physics. I'm not gonna bitch about that. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Yes, how far can this tank fly? You know,
Because I can speed the bus jumping those things.
Yeah, it goes like this.
No, it's not going. The bus is not going to do that.
Yeah, there's a big hole. There's a big hole on the freeway, and this is how it looks in the movie. It goes, goom.
Yeah, exactly.
like it hits a hydraulic press or something. That throws or a hydraulic jump. So.
Yeah.
I want to go back and talk about Texas Little Cuties.
Okay.
So you.
So we started that group, and we started rescuing, and then we had people join us, and I started meeting so many people.
Nice.
And I started learning vet care and started knowing the lingo and what this meant, what that meant, how I learned so much. And I'm like, okay, I could go back to vet school. I want to go back to vet school. And then realization hit. Wait a minute. I would be dealing with so much death and having to put dogs down, animals down because they're not well.
Right.
I said, I can't hang with that.
Yeah, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this sounds tacky. I can handle the person dying better than I can handle a dog dying.
Hold on one quick second. Why did this stop recording? One quick sec. Why did that happen? All right, well, part of the audio for this may be picked up by the phones, and then the rest will get picked up by the good audio. I have no idea why I just decided to stop, so we're going to keep going.
Okay.
Hopefully, there's going to be a chunk of audio that's going to be from the iPhone in this podcast, but whatever.
Right.
And then the rest will come back on our microphones. Sorry to interrupt. So
That's okay.
First time technical issues, trying to making sure everything's still recording. So there's gonna be like 20 minutes of bad audio, and then it'll come back. I have no idea where it stopped.
Okay.
Anyways, so because being a vet and being rescuing animals, two very different things.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
And at what point, when you had the most animals that you were sheltering, that you were rescuing, what was the most that you had at one point in time? Would you say animals?
Kathy and I had 68 the time of the fire. 34 perished.
So you were able to get half.
Well, we had.
So you got half of them out.
We had a building out back, and we had a mom and puppies, and I had all these other big adults out there. And then on one side of so those out back there had no problem surviving. They could feel the heat though, because that heat from that fire was massive.
And just so people who don't know, but you were in a fire last year.
Yeah.
And lost your best friend Kathy, and lost Kathy, who is like another aunt to my kids.
Yeah.
Every
chance,
every dance recital, every event, you and Kathy were there. Kathy was there. She was like, she was part of our family. And when I was in disbelief when I got that, when you called, I think you called, Granny called Carla. And and Carla was upset, and we were about to go to the T-ball game for the kids, and I just I couldn't believe it, because we saw you guys the night before.
Exactly.
We saw you on Friday,
Yeah.
And because I remember the movie. We watched the movie The Gray the night before. The Gray Man.
The Gray Man.
Gray Man.
Yeah, she had told you to watch it.
She told me to watch it. Yeah, so.
Because she enjoyed that. Because we had just started this tradition of Tuesdays going to the movies. Us seniors going to the movies on Tuesdays.
Oh, because you went to the movie theater to go see it. Because
yes.
it was on Netflix and in the movies. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we had just started that. That was probably like our third or fourth one to see because we saw Elvis before that. And what was that Sandra Bullock movie before that? The one where she's wearing that red suit or turquoise suit or purple suit. She's a writer. We went and saw that one. And there was another one.
Oh, that was a comedy, right?
Yes.
With the kid from Harry Potter, who's playing. He wanted to.
Yes, that's
and
it.
Channing Tatum. Yeah.
So we went and saw all of those, and there was still one more that we saw, but we were waiting for one to come out, and we were going to go see that one. We just couldn't wait for that, but she didn't get to see that one. And so we'd come to Ellie's ballet recital the day before, had lunch, went and bought some stuff for her. I'd bought her this head from IKEA that you plug up and it changes colors. Mm-hmm. And I still had that in my car, so I have that just placed in my house right now. Yeah. Because that's what she wanted, and that's what I got her.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You guys were in the throes of also building that house too. It's crazy.
I know. Yeah. The night before, she was so disappointed about something up there, so I went up there and calmed her down, and I said, she was so afraid her closet was going to be small. And I said, just because you're looking at it, they had put up an extra wall or something in there. Whoops. And I said, I think that's just a support thing. So we mapped it out and everything because she wanted a huge closet. And she had a huge closet. It was 12 foot by 9 foot. I'm like, most bedrooms aren't even that.
Yeah, right?
It was huge.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So got her calmed down there, and we were talking about coming to your birthday party the next day. And so we said, well, let's go, and we'll get everything taken care of tonight, and go to adoptions in the morning and birthday party in the evening. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what she did. And I can remember the disbelief on my face when I was crawling. I came out and I ran to the other side because I knew all the dogs were in crates. And I just started throwing those dogs out. And I thought the other dogs would come out the doggy door, but they didn't. Mm. They went under my bed and perished. And when I got them out, I'd already been burned at that point.
So because you were in the room that was closest to the door, that was farthest away from the fire, essentially, right?
No.
Oh, you were.
The fire started in my bedroom.
Oh, so
she was at the farthest door. Her head, where her head lays. Yeah. If I leaned over, I touched the front door. Huh. And I know I ran in there screaming, and I just don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I got out, and I remember once I got out, that's when it was a blast.
The propane tanks.
Propane tanks. Yeah. It was like a big explosion of propane tanks. The gun, the pellets, the bullets were already going off because I had them on top of my refrigerator. And I'm almost positive that's where the fire started. Because we had that on an extension cord. And I'm sure a rat ate that thing. And
too much power going.
Yeah. I think a rat ate the cord. And
to the cord to what?
The refrigerator.
Oh, the fridge. Okay.
Because I had a refrigerator outside my bedroom. Mm-hmm. And then we had 3 freezers on further down by the front door where she was. Yeah. And we'd had a problem down there before, but I had fixed it. Yeah. And then I had an electrician change something out, so we had that fixed. Mm-hmm. But I really think a rat ate a cord.
Did you see her that morning, or did you hear her or anything like that, or not? That you can. I'm sure it might be hard to even remember. But do you recall seeing her? Or
I did not see her.
You didn't. Yeah.
Because the house itself was black.
When you woke up?
When I woke up, because I would sleep with my TV on with YouTube and listening to ocean waves or big rain or something like that. Why I woke up as early as I did and just thought to roll over to see what was going on, because I faced that wall. Mm-hmm. And I woke up and I turned over and that whole wall, or 3/4 of that wall, was on fire.
No way. And but you didn't feel the heat, or? Wow.
No, I didn't feel it.
That's crazy.
I just got up, and I remember trying to move my air conditioner out of the hole.
So you could get out the window?
But I couldn't.
So when you got out the door.
So I had another door that led me into the main house.
Okay.
And I didn't even think what I was going to be running into.
Right.
I figured, I didn't even think. I ran in, and as soon as I opened the door,
it was just a blazing.
I slammed that door. I remember, because I'm always slamming that door.
Yeah.
And if I'd left it open, then maybe the dogs would have come out with me.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I didn't even grab my little chihuahua out of the bed with me. I didn't do nothing.
You can't think about that kind of stuff
But you do.
You do afterwards. But I mean, they even tell you, it's like, if you get what you can, but just get out of there. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's like, Carla was just mentioning this the other day, and I'm like, we haven't done it yet, but we haven't done a fire drill, and doing the fire drill, like, we have a ladder, a collapsible ladder that we can put outside of like Luke's window, so that to practice it. But
that can't be your only.
Yeah. No, you're right.
You got to have something else.
Multiple exits, and here as well, out of these windows.
Yeah, Jimmy had made that part of the house unexable. I mean, I had said one time before, I said, you really, where Jimmy's desk was, let's get rid of it, and let's add a door there or something so that she could start letting the dogs in the backyard.
Because you have to let them out through the same door. Front, otherwise.
We had the front door.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
then I had a front door.
Right.
And that was it.
Because your room was connected to the house, like
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was a bad mistake. And then, of course, he had put screens, and somehow they were double windows or something like that. I don't remember how you do it. But then he had put that screen stuff on there and nailed it with, because they wanted it dark in the house. I guess to conserve energy, but because he sat in a chair 24/7 and watched TV. And so they kept it dark.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And then, of course, we never heard the fire things or alarms. That was in the far end of the house, the back end where the fire pushed this way. Well, hell, the extension, the whatever you call them, the alarms were back here. Right. We didn't have one on the front porch. If we had had one on the front porch, maybe we would have been woken up faster, sooner. But I do remember running through, and as soon as I got out, that's when that poof happened.
How long after? Again, perception of time is probably skewed, right? But it's been a year now. How long after you waking up and realizing there was a fire until that explosion happened, roughly time wise?
A minute.
So you literally like just happened to get up, right?
Yeah.
That's just dumb luck, basically.
I didn't stop. I just ran through the house screaming at her, and then I ran through the front door.
But you said you were trying to get some dogs out too, though, right?
No. So running out the front door, and then that's when the big poof happened.
Okay.
Because you have to go down steps to get out of the house because it's a trailer, and that blew me.
It hit you. It threw you forward.
Yeah. And that's when I got, ugh. But when that happened, it's just like a big ball of
heat.
So
that's what burned
my face there. And I guess I did something like this because this is why this arm, it got the 3rd-degree burns. And singed all my hair. Thankfully, my hair was in a bun. And singed all my hair around my face.
Mainly from that blast.
Yeah.
Wow.
It even got, singed. I lost hair from here down.
Uh-huh.
And I got myself up, and I thought, well, she'll be right out. And I ran around to the side of the house, and then that's where the dogs were at. So at this point, I could feel I was hot.
Yeah. You didn't probably know. I mean, by that point, adrenaline had kicked in.
Oh, yeah.
You could, I mean, the fact that when I touch a stove and I burn my finger, you're like, ouch. When there's a heat explosion and you get these 3rd-degree burns and you're like, I feel hot, goes to show you that adrenaline is pumping. You know what I mean? And you're like, and at that fight or flight movement, it's like there's like the only thing that you can do to control situations like that is that's why gun owners, that's why, responsible gun owners should need to be training all the time, because like when shit hits the fan and it's serious, all you have to rely on is like the gut instinct. No, you can't think clearly. You just are literally doing stuff. You're either like fighting, which means, maybe throwing some stuff out or trying to get stuff, or getting the heck out of there, flighting, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so yeah, I think having that, and why we needed to do the training too, because you can't think about that stuff. You just do it.
You will not remember. You won't remember anything you've learned.
No. Well, unless you do it enough to where it becomes like literal automatic, right? And even then, like even in situations like that, if you take like, really well-trained cop, for example, who has a bad day, who sleeps, I'm not saying, there's good cops, there's bad cops, there's all kinds of people out there, but at the end of the day, if there's somebody who is a cop who's out there, who's the best cop, best trained cop, whoever that is, imagine that guy. He gets 2 hours less sleep for whatever reason. Kid kept him up, whatever. And that can be enough for him to make a stupid decision, even though he's been trained, every day. So it's like even like the best training in situations that are like extreme like that can go to shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you went around looking to open the dogs' crates that were around.
Yeah. And I don't know why I thought she'll still come out. She'll still come out.
Yeah.
Because she was right there at the door. She sleeps right there at the door.
Right.
But I wasn't worried about her because I thought she would just do what I did.
Right.
So, but by the time I got around to the side and was bringing them out, the house had already started getting engulfed, and I got out there. And I sat there and watched my hot tub, and then her old hot tub was sitting there. I had my new one, and I just watched them both just go shh, that plastic melt.
Wow.
It was like, oh. It was kind of like watching the Twin Towers.
Yeah. Just collapsing straight down. That's crazy. Yeah, that's... I can't even imagine like that. And like,
Yeah. I don't...
Miss her.
Big time.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my spouse.
Yeah.
I mean, every day we'd figure something to go do.
Your BFF?
Yep, my BFF forever.
You I knew you guys worked together in Nortel, and I knew she had involvement with your rescue, but I didn't know you guys were pretty much there together with that from the beginning.
Very beginning, yeah.
The very beginning.
Because when she moved in, I was really big with the Chihuahua Rescue Group, and after work, back in that particular day, like 2003, that's when we had Yahoo Maps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where you had to go to the computer.
Print it out. Okay, that we're going to go do these home visits.
Yeah. And so we would print them out and we would map. And like, okay, we're going to go to this one. We'll go do this one.
So this is the home visits is to vet potential owners, right?
Yeah.
And is that something that you don't have to do that, you choose to do that, right?
Well, when we were with the other group, you had to do it.
You have to.
Yeah.
The Chihuahua group that you first started with.
Yeah.
But then when you went off on your own.
We went off on our own. We continued to do that.
But it's not required, right? But you chose to keep that up for obviously the right reasons.
Right. And then now we can go online and like, okay, you live where? And I can go on there and look at your house and see.
Background checks,
things like that. I can do it that way. There's still a lot of groups that still do the home visits. But I can't. I can look at your thing. I can talk to you in great depth. I'll talk to people for an hour.
Yeah. And
get a sense. And then we'll do meet and greets and things like that.
And is it, because I know you had Texas Little Cuties.
Yeah.
But then you have something else called Chloe's
Pet Rescue.
So what's the difference between those two?
So Texas Little Cuties was growing with too many people, and it was getting really complex because we started getting too many individuals doing their own rescue with our group. And I kept getting too many complaints about this person. I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore.
Was it yours? Was it a group of people that started it to begin with?
No.
It was just the two of you?
It was just Kathy and I.
Kathy and you.
Yeah.
And so you just took on other people to help make it bigger to be able to save more animals.
So this person became a foster for us, and this person became a foster. And they started doing like me. They started rescuing their own dogs or cats and adopting them out. And maybe somebody I didn't agree that they should adopt to or something like that. So I was like, eh.
But if it was yours, why did you decide?
Just get rid of, because we rescued Chloe. And Chloe was, she was paralyzed. And the woman that went and picked up the dog for me, she took it to her son, who was a vet, and he said, euthanize the dog because it's the quality of life and things like that. And I said, let me have the dog. So I took the dog to my vet in McKinney, Dr. Shelton. Dr. Shelton said, there's nothing wrong with this dog. I mean, wheelchair her and let's go from there.
When was this?
That would have been...
I think I remember meeting Chloe.
Yeah, wheelchair baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been 3 years since she's died, maybe 4. So maybe 2015 I got her. Yeah, late 2015 I got her.
So in 2 instances of saving a Chihuahua, you've started two different rescue groups.
But Chloe was different. She was ambassador. People come to PetSmart to see Chloe.
Oh, nice.
Because somebody walk in that door and she'd be in her wheelchair. She'd run to that door and say, "Pet me, pet me," and then she'd come back to us. Or she would run those owls in the store just because she could. And
and just so everybody knows, you do rescues every Saturday at the
PetSmart in Garland.
In Garland.
Yeah.
It's the only one in Garland there? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Been showing at that one since they basically opened in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember.
We used to show every Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And then we went to Saturdays only.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of every other Saturday because I don't have that many dogs.
Right.
I can't. I'll never be what we were before.
Right.
You know? Kathy and I were going to build this one build when we moved out of the mobile home and go to the house.
Yeah.
I was going to have it gutted and rebuilt into a new place just for dogs.
Right.
I was going to call it Kathy's Place. And and then that way we could also keep dogs that needed to stay somewhere for 2 weeks, and then we could transport them up north to to rescues, and because up north they don't have dogs. That's because they have laws
outside of Texas or up north.
So Texas and California and a few other states, Florida, they don't have these great laws that say you cannot breed your dog. All these other states are that way.
You cannot breed your dog.
You cannot breed your dog. So Washington State, Oregon, You cannot. It's a
So you have to spay or neuter them? Or?
New York City. You have to walk around with a like an ID on your dog, and your dogs have to be spayed and neutered.
What? Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
It's
to
heaven.
It's to wow.
It control the pet population.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's heaven for the sake of that way you don't have all these
Right.
hungry animals out there.
The only ones that in those states that could breed are ones that are show dogs.
So I understand. It sounds a little bit like a little communist. Communist China.
Yeah, well, you look at the problem we got.
No, I get it. I mean,
how much tax dollars are wasted? I mean, hell, we're putting down millions of dogs in
Right.
this state alone.
Right.
So.
Right. And it must be. It's a hard problem to contain too once they've gotten out, because they're just stray dogs just breeding just randomly. And I remember speaking of animals just finding a way to breed quickly. I had when I was in college, I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we had found a Russian blue cat, and she'd gotten in heat, and she was meowing like crazy, and it had been going on, and we needed to get her fixed. And I think we were just both completely exhausted from it. We're like, okay, we can't handle this. Let her out. So we let her out. And granted, I was like maybe 19, so I was a dumb teenager. But we just let her out. We lived in an apartment complex in Addison, and we let her out. And then like 48 hours later, she comes back, and then however many weeks later, she's got a litter.
Baby.
Yeah. So yeah, when they're in heat, they'll find a mate. So
Yeah. So shelters right now are, if you go in there and you see all the it's kitten season right now, and they're just having to euthanize all these little kittens. So it kills me.
You'd rather not have to do what you did. Obviously, it's like so bringing them up north. So you get them, you spade them or you neuter them, and then you could bring them up north.
You
and
can
then
take them up north.
You have the papers for them and stuff.
Even right now, people up there aren't adopting dogs. The economy sucks.
Yeah, people don't want.
Nobody wants to adopt.
Extra expense. Was it set up as a nonprofit or your company?
We're all nonprofit. Yeah. I was very lucky. Kara Bond and her husband joined us, and between Kara and I, we sat there and we did everything. And I found the first time to get our nonprofit, it took about 9 months. This last time for Chloe's Pet Rescue, I hired a company out of Atlanta. That was the best $800 I spent. They had it done in less than 2 weeks. I mean, to the IRS, stamped and returned to me.
And all the paperwork that needs to go with it, right?
Oh, my God. They even did all the state work and everything.
Yeah.
And they did it all in under 2 weeks.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was,
Yeah. You obviously need to pay for that, but it far outweighs the hassle of setting set up the LLC or set up the company, whatever it is, however you set it up. But
I mean, doing all the
nonprofit,
paying for this and paying for that and paying for that application, blah blah blah. I mean, that probably cost you about $200 or $300.
Yeah,
but $800 was cheap, and I said, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that was an easy check to write.
Yeah, and so now you have your new place just down the street, and you're still doing rescues. Obviously, you're still going there on Saturdays.
I have 4 right now.
But it's not something that you're as actively pursuing, right? I think
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got some bigger dogs. I say they're bigger. One's a puppy, one's a 3-year-old. That a friend is fostering, but her health is failing.
Yeah.
And another good friend that's in the group, her health is not great right now, so she's trying to help her. And these dogs she's got 2 that I've got to get into new homes immediately.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I was talking to Carla about, she's staying in a crate 22 hours a day. Yeah. Well, one, it's too hot. Normally, she would take her. She has a play yard just for the dogs, but it's too hot. up there, it's a little further up north, and an hour north of here. It's even hotter there than it is here.
Oh, that's surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't let the dogs out.
Oof.
Poor little Honey. She was outside today, and by the time we got inside, she just collapsed on the hearth. There's a big fuzzy blanket there, and she was breathing hard, and so I had to put some water on her, and we weren't outside that long, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that just killed him.
Well, I'm glad you're still doing it, though. I mean, still doing it. But what, I mean, I guess, you know, you have the love for the animals. That is what kind of pushed you to do it. But I think coming from serving in the military and then going to caring for animals, it's definitely a selfless kind of job. Why are you like that? Why can't I be more like that?
Why not? I mean, it's just like Kathy. She'd give you the shirt off her back.
Yeah.
You know, and she loved those animals just as much as me. And then, of course, we had the donkeys and the sheep or the goats.
Yeah, you had donkeys. I remember those.
Oh, yeah, the donkeys. And, gosh, it's just, like I said, I could go to battle. I don't think I'd have one problem killing an enemy. But if I had to shoot a dog, no, ain't going to happen.
Interesting.
No.
Well, a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, at least what I see on social media, people commenting like, you know, when there's a cute animal post and like, you know, this is why animals are, why I love animals more than people. You know, so in a lot of instances, you can definitely understand that because dogs, especially dogs, right?
Yeah.
They're just so. Any dog that's mean or aggressive, and listen, you could say this about human, right? Any human that's a criminal or aggressive meanly was possibly because they were raised that way, right? Just like a bad dog. But you got to push a dog really far for them to become really evil towards people. You know what I mean? Like dogs are men's best friends. So I definitely see that they have, you know, the love that they have for their owners, and like, you know, listen, I grew up, our family had cats, so it's a very different dynamic. You know what I mean? You have to chase after those things. You have to earn their respect. It's way different. But as I became more and more around dogs, around Carla and you and stuff like that, it's like that unconditional love that dogs have. It's almost like it's like a child, because you feel like you have to nurture that and take care of that, because it's like they will bend over backwards. They'll do whatever it is for you, and so you feel like you have to reciprocate. You know what I mean? Cats aren't like that, no, for sure.
Yeah.
although our cat's pretty close. She does fetch. Kiki fetches. So have you seen her fetch?
No.
She does. She fetches. She's been doing it for years. She has these little foam balls that she fits in her mouth. She even does it sometimes with bigger stuff. But I throw it down the stairs, or I throw it across the room. She'll put it in her mouth, and then she'll have it in her mouth and makes this loud meows. She'll come to us and drop them. I have never seen her do that. I'll have to show you. She totally does it. Yeah, I'll show you. So, and she's considering where she came from, she's definitely a loving cat. So she's definitely got some dog traits.
She's lucky. Y'all saw her.
Yeah, we found her on the street, but she grew up with dogs, with Connor and Keely.
Oh, Connor and Keely.
So she's
and not baby.
Puppy.
Puppy.
Yeah, no, little bit.
Or Puppy had already passed?
A little bit with Puppy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and did you ever hear the story about Puppy?
How did you get, you got Puppy. So Puppy was my wife's, Puppy was my wife Carla's first dog. When we first met, she had 2 rat terriers and 1 Chihuahua, Puppy. And when I met her, which was in 2009, she was blind, and
I think she was always blind.
She was always blind. She did not like me, but she learned to love me, and then eventually she loved me. She would do the begging with her paws. I remember her talking too. So you got her that Chihuahua.
Catty corner to my house in Plano was a guy that had this dog, and he kept it in the closet.
How do people do that, dude? I mean, you see that with...
I never understood. And then he said something. I said, well, I'll take the dog from you. I mean, give me your dog.
Yeah.
And he ran in the house, got the dog, and just plumped it in my arms. I remember that.
Why?
And I remember calling Carla because she was still down in Nederland. And I said, I got a dog. And she got up there, and I had puppy. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy how some people, like, how can you do that to...
Yeah. Why have a dog?
You got to be pretty messed up to do that.
Then that's what I think about people that have dogs in their backyard. Do you go in the backyard and see that dog? Do you do anything with that dog?
Yeah.
Why do you have this dog?
Yeah.
But now it's just there's so many dogs. Oh, it's frustrating.
Well, you've done your part.
I have. I think
part.
we determined, I don't remember how many thousands of dogs I've saved through the past 25 years coming up.
Wow.
Yeah, March 2024 would be my 25th year.
So what's on the horizon? Do you have any ideas?
No. I still want to go do my my walk across Spain, the Camino.
Yeah.
Camino.
So where do you
Santiago.
start? You walk all the way east, right? Or how far? What's the?
Let's see. You start north, south, east corner of France.
Okay.
Was it that Pied? I don't remember the little town. You start there, and then you go down into Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and then you.
Well, you need to start in Bordeaux then. You should go start in Bordeaux just to see it.
Okay.
That's where I lived, and then you go further south where you're to the southwest of France, and then so you keep going down along the coast, along the Atlantic coast.
Yeah.
All the way to where?
Well, this one it goes to. Is it Santiago? Camino. It's the big church there. Gosh, my brain is gone right now, and because I can't remember the names.
Is it in Spain or do you walk past?
Yes.
It's in Spain.
Yeah,
too.
because the majority you start in this little town right there in France, and then you're probably a day of walking, and you're into Spain, and then the rest of the next five weeks you're in Spain
walking,
and you walk about 14 miles, 15 miles a day.
Have you thought about what about the Appalachian Trail?
I think that's a little dangerous.
Why is that?
Animals.
Oh, right.
Yeah, animals. And there's also all the different temperatures and it's not set up like it is down there because there's all the hostels are set up. So you go and you walk and you get to one town and they've just got a place for maybe 50 people spend the night. There's all these bunk beds inside. Or just throw a pillow outside and
sleep in the stars.
Yep. They'll have hay places for you to just sleep.
It's a lot of walking.
That is.
I don't know if I could do that.
Oh yeah, you could.
I guess if you just, it may take. I mean, you're not under unless you're under a deadline. You could take a day off, but if you're planning to walk 14 miles a day.
Yeah, but every morning I used to walk 10 miles every morning. Take me 2.5 hours. I put on my backpack with my water and carry my toilet paper. And over in Plano, there was the trails, and I could do those. And a lot of the trails were underneath the trees, so that helped.
Right.
But then the ponds and everything, you were under the sun. And
you just have to think about if you're there, depending on how mountainous the terrain is.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. Because
there's a couple of places.
Because we walk on average like 2 to 3 miles an hour, give or take. But if that's on a steep, up incline, then take a lot longer than that.
Now, I think there's only a few places where it's a chunker to do, but just a few. Everything else is just steady, and it's nothing. It's just this.
You have to brush up on your Spanish if you're gonna go there.
I know.
See.
Oh,
yeah.
We. Oh no, that's French.
No, you'll have one day of French.
Yeah.
And then after that, That sounds like something that'd be fun to do for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be.
And you get to the church, and you go through a mass, and I never remember what that big ball is that has the smoke coming from it in the Catholic Church. I don't remember what the name of it is.
You're asking the wrong guy here.
Yeah, but normally they walk through the mass, the father's walking in front, and then the boys are behind with those little...
The smokers that smell, yeah.
Well, now imagine that as big as this room.
Wow.
And that thing is just flying through the air there.
Wow. How'd you hear about this? I've never even heard about this.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
Was it on YouTube? No. I don't really remember. And then right after I heard about it, there was the movie, The Way, with Martin Sheen and his son, Emilio Estevez.
I haven't seen it.
It was good.
Recent movie?
Probably 6-8 years ago.
Oh, okay, The Way. I'll have to check it out.
The Way.
And that's the trail that they take? They walk there?
The son starts it off. He's already finished school and all that, and he was he had been doing all this stuff to find his inner self. And he had been here, he had been there, and then he started on that trail. And Daddy got the call that he had gotten killed on the trail. So Daddy came over there and was about to go back home, and he decided to finish the trail for him.
You just gave away the movie to me.
Well, no.
Is that part of? Oh, you did.
That's the very first part.
Okay.
So
I want to see that.
Then
that sounds good.
You got the whole rest of the movie.
There's something about travel.
Yeah.
Something about travel that's like a reset, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like whether you decide to go travel alone and go walk, the Appalachian Trail or walk the coast of France and Spain, or you go on a vacation but to a place you've never been before that's foreign, that's not familiar. It kind of it gives you a bunch of perspective, right? It's like, because I don't know, for me at least, you're in your day-to-day, day in, day out routine, and you put so much importance on a lot of stuff that you just have to, because that's your life. And then you go somewhere unfamiliar, and it just gives you a fresh perspective, time, especially if you're walking and hiking, and you just have time you're out in nature. It's like where we're meant to be, where we're like from like a primal standpoint, walking around, because we were, our ancestors would be walking. We would follow
nomads.
We were nomads, right? So we'd be walking miles and miles, and I think that's still in us, that desire to just walk and explore and venture out, and having a lot of time to walk and think. It just clears your mind. You're outside in nature too.
Right.
Something about the brights of the screens and the lights versus like being outside. So.
Oh yeah, and you're about to experience this next week.
Yeah.
So you're going. So I guess it's been 4 years. Maybe it's been 5 years since I went to Colorado.
I remember. Yeah, you went to. Yeah. You went solo too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did Garden of the Gods. I did that one day.
We'll be doing that. Yeah.
The first couple of times I went to Garden of Gods, we just kind of did this one little area.
Yeah.
Well, this time I did almost every trail I could find in Garden of the Gods. And I had a blast. And even met people there, talked to people, because we'd be looking at stuff like, what is that? Or formation of this. And
you'd want to stay on those trails.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. You stay on trails.
Yeah.
Always. I did that one. I did that one day. And then I went up to Castle Rock, which is a subdivision south of Denver. Mm-hmm. But, it's like Irving is to Dallas kind of thing, suburb. Yeah. So go out a little bit, and they had this great trail place. And all it was a 3-mile trail just going around like this. But when you did that out here, there was another way you could go and join onto this other trail, which was a cliff, and it was amazing. And thank you, Lord, for the Boy Scouts, because I got out there. And
Girl Scouts.
No, the Boy Scouts. I'll tell you why. Because I got out there and I'm walking that thing, and I walked it, and there was this really skinny way. You had to get under there or go this way to get onto the next section. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And got there. And I remembered seeing all the stacked rocks. Now, the Boy Scouts came through there and did all these stacked rocks so you would know to follow those stacked rocks. Oh. That was your trail. Because there was no trail.
Wow.
Because it's nothing but rock.
Yeah, that's...
granite, mountain. It was just a mountain. And the view was just phenomenal. I never saw any animals. All I'd see was those little chipmunks and things. I never saw a snake. Never saw anything dangerous. The only thing was coming back, I was like, I can't get back through that little piece. Mm-hmm. Because it was different coming from this way.
Right.
And I'm like, I can do this, and figured it out and got back through there. And then I didn't know where to go because it was all open.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, but then I saw the rocks.
The rocks. So the Boy Scouts did save you.
Yeah.
That's the thing about going off, like my fear of going out into the wild, mm-hmm. like the movie Into the Wild, is getting lost. And trying to find your way if you have nowhere to go, nobody to talk to. Like, I was just listening to a Rogan podcast about a guy who's basically been in the Amazon, and he's a conservationalist and works in the Amazon, trying to raise awareness about people destroying the land there and just
raping it.
But I mean that's like on another level as a trail, but like getting lost where like it's like dense brush and bush everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like, man, going out in the wild is crazy. The wild is wild. The wild is wild. So I know it's like and we're only getting like a little snippet of that. There's the show. Have you seen? We told you to watch the show Alone, right? Or have I told you about this show Alone? Oh, you've got to watch it. It's on Netflix now too. So you've got it at home. You got Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay, so watch it tonight. I'm not sure what season's on there right now, but there's been 2. But essentially, it's a reality show. I think there's 10 contestants, and all of them are experienced in the wilderness in one way or another. They're either guides, they either they do it for a living, or they're obsessed with it to the point to where like that's all they do, and they're either train people how to be survivalists, or they have a ranch where they live out there on their own. But essentially, these contestants are all put on the same island, maybe about 3 miles apart from one another, so they never interact with one another. They get to choose up to 10 items. Some of them being like a tarp, so you can make a roof or whatever, a cutting and an axe tool, like a multi-use tool, fishing wire, a striker to start fire, and then like a bow and arrow, like a rudimentary, like old school, not a compound, but a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And these guys are like legit with these bows and arrows, some of these guys. Like you've got these guys building, and girls building, like this one girl built, like she dug a hole like 4 foot deep to get closer to the ground where it could be more insulated, and she built and then pulled. Like these people are cutting logs and building log cabins in the woods, and they have to live off the land. They're not given any food. I think they might be given like a day worth of rations or whatever. But it's basically the longest you can survive, the better. And you have a working knowledge of like the plants, because if you eat the wrong plants, some of these people eat the wrong plants and they're like shitting for days, or they use their cell phone and be like, I'm tapping out, I'm out, I can't handle it. I've got this severe, like this one guy who was like killing it, and he was doing so good. He killed a beaver, like he shot the beaver with the bow and arrow, and then like a day later he's like, I see he's going down river, so I'll go see tomorrow if he's washed up. And surely enough, the next day the exact spot where he thought the thing might be washed up on the other side completely. Like, these guys are skinning them, they're getting all the fat off the skin, they're using like every part of these animals' bodies. And I'm like, if I got on that show, I would last 5 days, maybe. I don't even know.
That's because I don't have to eat or drink. I mean, just give me my water,
Well, yeah.
but I can go without food for 10 days.
Right, or probably more. Like there's this one guy.
Yeah.
And one guy who, and a lot of people do this, but he purposely gained 50 pounds knowing he was going to go on this thing and it's smart. If you know you're going to have to just out survive somebody else, then carrying more fat's the way to do it. Right. Especially if you know you're going to do it. But it's a great show, and it makes you truly realize how good you've got it, how good we've got it. I've got electricity going on right now. I can see, right? Yeah. I don't have to start a fire right now so I can see something.
Yeah.
Or
I got a refrigerator downstairs that I can go get an egg out of.
I mean, electricity, man. Like the people, you take that for granted. Like power, just having no rolling blackouts. We've got power consistently for the most part. Blackout once. You had one like a month ago, but yeah.
I'll have to find that one.
Yeah, Alone is really good. Yeah. We binged that one.
There's another good movie that's a guy that graduated from college and then wealthy family, and he didn't get a job. He gave all his money back to his mom, and he went out on the road, and he was living just day to day. And it was based on a true story. And he would work a sheep farm for a little while and get some money and live that way and then continue on. I think he was in California. And I want to say he went to, what was that big school there? Not Stanford. So he was a very smart guy. And then he went all the way up to Alaska. And he didn't get across the water fast enough. And then the rain came, and that little creek became a river so wide, and he couldn't get across. So he got stuck on the bad side, and winter hit. And then that's all I'm going to tell you on that. But he was living off the grid 99% of the time.
It's not the movie Into the Wild. I've never seen the movie Into the Wild, but it came out 15 years ago or something like that, give or take.
Into the Wild.
I think that's a completely different movie. It's got that one actor, I forget his name. He's a good actor. He was in Alpha Dog. He was in the Speed Racer movie remake. Emil Hirsch is the kid's name, I think, is the actor's name. But I think Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam wrote the soundtrack to that whole album. It was Eddie Vedder's from Pearl Jam. It was
it might be the movie because it had good music in it.
Yeah, it was all. If you recognize Eddie Vedder's voice, maybe in the movie. But that one was called Into the Wild, and I've never seen that. But that's I just know the story, and I know he gets lost and dies. But I don't know. I don't know under what circumstances he dies. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And he only died because he ate the wrong berry.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm. He was looking at his book, and he saw it here that he could eat it, but then when he flipped the page, it said, "Don't eat it." But he had already ate it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, something so trivial.
I know, right? All right, so this has been fun.
Yeah.
And we're going to wrap it up, but I appreciate
we talked music. Oh, no, we didn't talk music, but we talked movies and my Navy and my dogs, which are the most important things in my life. And
thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
And for being the first.
Yay.
I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Thanks.